From PBS News Student Reporting Labs
and WETA,
this is On Our Minds
with Evelyn
and Eason,
a podcast made by teens for teens,
telling stories about who inspires us. It was recently Teacher Appreciation Week, so this week we wanted to celebrate teachers and educators. We'll be sharing some great stories with you, but first we want to shout out one of our favorite teachers, Miss Huang.
Hi, happy to be here.
So Miss Huang here actually teaches journalism and yearbook at Los Altos, and this room that we're using is actually connected to her classroom, and she's providing it for us.
Miss Huang, one of the biggest takeaways from me this year that how you inspire me is just how you've kind of constantly pushed me to do stuff. From this podcast, you were like, you guys should sign up for this, or that competition that you told me to enter in a while ago. I was like, you should enter in this competition. I don't know if I'll win, but I got this podcast role, so I think it's just great having someone to kind of believe in me and what I'm able to do.
It's been so great having you in class, Eason, and journalism is my passion, so I do everything I can to support students like you who have a lot of potential.
One of my first conversations with Miss Huang was that we all lived in China for around the same amount of time, which was super cool.
Yeah, I think because I was there as an expat and my children were born there, and then I moved here in 2015. Is that when?
We moved in 2016, so we were pretty much on the same timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Eason and I were both in Beijing for a time. I also lived in Shanghai, but you were in Shenzhen? Is that right?
Yes.
So kind of different parts, but similar time in China to live there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, yeah.
It was fun hearing her stories in China, and her bad pronunciation of Chinese cities. Trying to guess the Chinese cities that she was trying to tell me about, but
I do speak one-tone Mandarin, so yes.
Want to show our audience what your Mandarin skills?
No, I do not. It's embarrassing. I can get by in China. I can speak enough and I understand enough, but
I think it's
I'm not
good.
fluent. Yeah.
I think it's pretty good.
I try.
We hope you all tell your favorite teachers what they mean to you, and that's what you'll hear from the student stories today. First up, we have Jay, who moved from Ohio to Texas, and it was his principal who welcomed him. Here's Jay.
Absolutely amazed. That's awesome.
It's really good.
Yes. Wow.
That's Mr. Ryan Wilson. He's the principal at my school, Carroll High School in Southlake, Texas. He's funny, strong, disciplined, and warm at all the same time. His wisdom and ability to connect with students and parents make him a leader we all admire. So, Mr. Wilson, I was wondering what drives your passion for education and for supporting students every single day?
Jay, kids drive my passion. There's something about interacting with kids that gives me a sense of joy and energy. When I'm standing in the street directing traffic and kids are coming into the parking lot and I see their sleepy smiles and they're raising their hands and they're kind of sort of waving in their cool teenage way.
And you as a principal having a large role in the school, how would you specifically define success?
That's a very individualized answer. I think success looks very different for people in different stages of their life and with different goals that they have for each other. The important thing is to celebrate whatever that success is, and they can be small and they can be big. It's people being able to look back on their middle school or look back now on their high school and speak favorably of it. To be able to say that there was a moment in my 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, something in my existence of high school or middle school that was actually pretty great. That's how I define success.
That's really great to hear. And how are you able to balance discipline and encouragement when working with students?
Discipline and encouragement, I think they absolutely overlap. There's a lot of one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
It is cliche to say that discipline is a form of love, but it absolutely is.
Yes.
Building rapport with students, which is so incredibly important in the field of education, is so often done exactly by discipline, exactly by stepping in and saying, hang on, there's a parameter that I need you to stay within because I care enough about you that I believe you need to stay within this parameter to be ultimately successful.
If you had to give your younger self a piece of advice, what exactly would it be?
Just to be confident in who you are.
Okay.
it's so difficult to do that in middle school and high school when you're not even sure who you are. Man, own it and just be proud of that, and find a space with people that you can be confident in who you really want to be.
What role does failure play in growth, and how do you model resilience for both the students and staff?
Oh man, Jay, that is huge. I am a big proponent of failure. What better place to fail before you start working on top 10% or top 5% or grade point average and what's weighted? Not what better place than to screw up now and learn from that. And so it's still a great thing to be able to reach a little bit beyond yourself, to raise the bar a little bit for yourself, to challenge yourself, to see how much better that you could be, and know that the worst thing that could happen is failure. It's that proverbial pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep going, because life is very wrought with failure. And I do believe that I have more success supporting students and partnering with parents to support students because of my past failures.
Thank you for this words of wisdom, Mr. Wilson.
Sure, man.
No, that was so funny hearing about our cool teenage waves that we apparently do. I do wonder what he meant by that. Maybe I should try hitting one of those right now.
Go.
Check this out. What's up, people?
Oh.
That was my cool teenageness.
Okay, media team, make sure you get that once in a lifetime opportunity of Ethan actually being cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the part of your script is yours.
You're right. But seriously, I really loved how Mr. Wilson talked about using failure as an opportunity to learn and not seeing it as a setback. It's like the saying, if you're not messing up, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, I think ultimately Mr. Wilson kind of brings up like a great point in educating people that we as students sometimes forget about or get lost in the middle of all like the GPA, like SATs, like trying to get the best scores we can and trying to get into best college. It's that I think school ultimately for us is like a learning experience, and you know the best way to learn is to make mistakes. I mean, that's how I learned skiing, by falling over and over and over again. You should have seen me tumble down the mountain. I mean, you kind of did that one time.
I kind of did.
But that's me learning.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the most important part is taking the risk and being able to learn from your failures.
Yeah, and that's what two students did in our next story. Marium and Aruja are from El Paso, Texas. In 6th grade, they joined their school library's book club, and the librarian, Mr. Biddle, became one of their biggest inspirations.
I remember when I first started attending my new 6th grade school. I was really nervous that I wouldn't really fit in anywhere, but one day on the announcements, I heard that there would be something like a book club. Here's my friend Aruja. She had a similar experience.
I loved books, as an obsession loved books, but I didn't really know how to talk to new people. So I thought this book club would be really nice to get to sort of know the people I'd be spending the next 3 years of my life with. And as I was going to that meeting, I felt insanely scared. I didn't know anyone and I didn't know what to say, but that's when I saw someone who looked really friendly waving at me.
That friendly face was Mr. Biddle, our school librarian. I feel like Mr. Biddle kind of encapsulates what it means to be a joy on our campus. He's always greeting people in the halls.
Hey there, hi there, ho there!
Ever since that day in 6th grade when I met him, he's been this sort of figure that guides our love for books and channels it into more and bigger things.
Here is Mr. Biddle.
Any book can inspire anybody for anything, but there's always that one book a lot of times that inspires somebody. They read it and become a reader.
We asked students at our school how they found Mr. Biddle inspiring, and here's what they had to say.
Mr. Biddle just provides such an amazing environment with a library that really, fosters an environment of growth for everyone, and it's just a place where people can go to be stress-free.
I just really enjoy all his energy. He's a really kind and warming, person to be around, and just in general, the library is really fun. You get to read books and connect with him on another level.
I find the YW library and Mr. Biddle inspiring because they fight. Mr. Biddle fights really hard against the banning of books, and he isn't ashamed to talk about any of his passions, such as reading or guitar.
Mr. Biddle is also someone who always encourages us to seek out the truth and gain new knowledge about basically anything we can. One particular way he's done this is through exhibiting and uplifting banned books throughout our campus.
I feel it's really important that students and people need to know what books are banned or challenged and why they are banned or challenged. And, I have no problem with a parent coming to me and saying, Mr. Biddle, I don't want my child reading this type of book. I have no problems with that. I respect the parents' wishes and what they believe in. But I have to draw the line when they say, well, I don't want anybody to read this book. That's when the problem happens, and that's what usually happens with banned books. And we need to educate people about that.
I remember one time I was going through the halls and I entered the library and I saw the showcase of books, and in front of each book was a description of what the book was about. And I realized that many of these novels that were banned actually uplifted marginalized communities that were often silenced. And so looking through these headlines and these novels and these summaries made me realize that I wanted to tell more stories about injustice, and that wouldn't have been possible without Mr. Biddle and his initiative.
It's really important. Once you start banning books, where does it stop? And also it's going through legislation right now is State Bill 13. If it does pass, it will allow, or actually require, every single district in the state of Texas to form a committee with parents who will look over my book selection when I make an order before that order is passed.
Why is showcasing banned books more important now than ever?
Knowledge. Now I've got to the point where every book I put out that's banned, I put why. Why that book was challenged. Why the dictionary was banned in a district in California because kids were looking at bad words. And I also put out, statistics. Where are the most books banned? And who's banning them and why they are banning them. That's really important, the why. Then when we start doing the why and knowing, we can start having conversations back and forth, because communication is key.
I feel like this line by Mr. Biddle really, really epitomizes why communication is so important for our library and why it has allowed our classrooms to become safe havens for us to learn.
And this really shows us the importance of books and good libraries. And here we have our friendly neighborhood rocking hiking librarian.
And I feel like I cannot be more grateful.
I used to be a huge nerd in the library too. When I first moved here, I didn't really want to play with anyone during lunch or recess, so I would just go to my school's library. And as sad as this may sound to you, Evelyn, I used to help my librarian with organizing the books and sorting checkouts and stuff. I was a nice child volunteering to help my school's library. That's what it was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a choice, but aren't you glad that, you have me, so you don't have to be volunteering and organizing books at the library anymore?
Okay. I still have a heart for my community. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyways, I love how Mr. Biddle turned the library into more than just a quiet place, but also this place where people really found themselves. The way he showcases banned books to spark conversation, I feel like that's so powerful because he turned the library into almost a place of quiet rebellion.
And speaking of that, here's my nerdiness coming through again, but advertisement for the local libraries. Did you know that our local library has so many cool things, cool services? They have digitization services, free subscriptions to research libraries. Not to sound like a nerd again, but super cool. My niche interests, film photography, even that, they have film digitization services.
That's so cool, Ethan. I also love the resources from the library, which brings us to our next story from a pair of students, Connor and Jay, from Clinton Township, Michigan, and they spoke with one of their favorite teachers, Mr. Hintz.
I'm Jay Schul. And I'm Connor Uhas.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Mr. Hintz, formerly the graphic art and design instructor here at the Paso Career Center, currently retired and an independent contractor graphic artist.
Is there any advice you'd give to anyone else looking to get into teaching?
I try not to give advice per se because it can backfire on you. I prefer to give optional thoughts. The idea of teaching is you have to have the passion for working with young people. So to get into teaching, believe in the material you're teaching, believe in the students you're teaching it to, and know that every challenge, is going to have its rewards, but the mistakes we make help us better understand those challenges and those value of those rewards.
If you had any motto or words to live by, what would they be?
as you present to your class, you have to be somewhat theatrical. I think not everybody. I was, because I felt that was entertaining to the students. And for me to make a mistake or make a guffaw and then have everybody laugh. Yes, you're laughing at me, but that's okay, because that was the plan, is to get you to focus. And if you're laughing at me, then you're paying attention to me. I used to have a big screen, and I used to write like daily assignments, daily projects, or what we're going to do this week. And I would try to, quiz the students, like, what are we doing today? Oh, I don't know. Well, it's there on the screen, 40-point type. How can you not see that?
I mean, yeah, it's right there.
So then I started to put things in there, like, today we're going to sleep. Today we're going to play on the phone.
I think I remember you doing
Today we're going to walk through the woods and scream obscenities. Because I wanted to see if anybody was looking at the big screen. You walk in every day, there's a giant 20 by 20 foot screen in front of you, and you're not even paying attention to it.
It's a projector screen. I mean,
Yeah,
really, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So I think the big part of anything being an educator is you have to have the students' attention. You have to have their attention. And if it means stop what you're teaching to go into an anecdotal story, or to ask a student, like, what's going on in your life? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Get you to engage. And then when you're engaged, then the relationship forms a greater bond. If you don't do that, you have separation. In many cases, I would focus on at the risk of saying weaker, but the less engaged students. But if you have someone that is in the constant state of I can't. Now, arguably someone would say, well, I can't means I don't. I don't want to do this because I can't. That's not necessarily true. So one of the first things I would ask students, say, well, do I have to draw? Do I have to learn how to draw? Well, can you hold a pencil? Yes. Do you have a piece of paper? Yes. Take that pencil and just draw a straight line. Then move, draw another straight line. Take that pencil and move your arm into a circle. You're drawing. Those are shapes and forms.
The big thing with me was, like, you made artistry in general sound so cool. like getting to do stuff like that. You told stories and you told, stuff that actually happened in the industry. And that really interests me. You made me kind of want to do more stuff, like that. I appreciate you coming here to...
Yeah, no pressure, fellas. Thanks for the invitation. A little early for me.
I really loved Mr. Hint's approach to teaching. I feel like his humor would make me really, really look forward to class every single day.
I think I really admire how he's able to use humor and storytelling to build these genuine connections with his students. And it wasn't just about teaching the subject of art, but also confidence and creativity. And I feel like one of the best teachers in the world are teachers who can inspire their students and give you the courage to try.
Yeah, I agree. Especially an art teacher too. It's probably like super nice to have someone who's like just brings that creative energy into class every single day. Like that thing where he said he would like just put random things on the slide. Like that would, I don't know if it would inspire me to necessarily create an art piece, but it definitely brings an atmosphere into the classroom that I would certainly appreciate.
Up next, special episode, we'll explore more about libraries.
We have an episode with conversations with the Instagram famous librarian Michael Threeds and the YA author Nick Stone. Today's segments were produced by Jay, Marium, Aruja, Connor, and Jay.
Lead podcast producer Briget Ganske produced this episode with editing and mixing by Wyatt Mayes and help from Genesis Magpayo.
Ryan James is our camera and audio operator.
Approval and oversight by editorial director Marie Cusick and executive producer Leah Clapman.
Brown. Additional music from Blue Dot Sessions.